When I woke up on the day of the Hawaii trip, my parents and brother had already left the house. On the living room desk, there was a note from my mother that read, "You're just a freeloader living in the house. Home suits you." I made sure they couldn't come back to my house. In an upscale residential area of Manhattan, Kelly Holmes stood by the window on the third floor of the five-story Holmes family luxury house. The sky, tinged with purple as the day waned, began to highlight the headlights of luxury cars passing by on the street. The cell phone of the 17-year-old girl vibrated. A message from her best friend Julia. "Kelly, emergency. Did the police contact you? Your parents are really worried. Please reply soon." She stared at the screen. The police? Her parents are worried? She didn't understand. As she scrolled, more messages appeared. "Is it true you're missing? Where are you? Everyone is looking for you." Kelly's hands began to tremble, and a cold sensation surged through her body. She was definitely here. She had been staying here all week since her parents refused to take her to their wedding. "Julia, what are you talking about?" "I'm here." She sent the reply, and immediately her phone rang. Julia's voice was confused and shaky. "What? But your parents filed a missing person report. Haven't you seen Instagram? Everyone's looking at the posts from your parents." Kelly hurriedly opened Instagram. An unbelievable scene unfolded before her. A family photo taken in front of a luxury resort hotel under the blue skies of Hawaii with palm trees swaying. Her mother in an elegant summer dress, her father in a fine linen suit, her sister Sandra in a designer dress, and her brother Chris in a casual branded suit. A perfect family vacation photo, and her mother's post read, "Our beloved daughter Kelly is missing, and this special day is filled with mixed emotions. We are cooperating with the police in the search, praying for her safety." Kelly's vision blurred. Nausea surged. She felt as if she might collapse right there. She leaned against a luxurious chair by the window. Looking around the room, a white-themed interior, designer furniture, and a wall-to-wall bookshelf. Luxurious yet with a somewhat cold atmosphere. A space that symbolized the 17 years of her life. This was the explanation her parents chose for not wanting her at the wedding. Missing. It all started on a morning in February. At breakfast, her usually cheerful mother announced something important. After living together for 25 years without marriage, her parents had finally decided to have a formal wedding. "It's in Hawaii. It'll be a small but lovely ceremony." Her mother Beth spoke as if she were talking about a dream. "Sandra, I want you to be my maid of honor." Kelly's sister Sandra cheered. "Mom, it's going to be a wonderful ceremony. We'll make everything perfect, from the dress to the hair and makeup." Kelly's father Richard smiled at her brother Chris. "Chris, will you be my best man?" "Of course, Dad. It's an honor." No one looked at Kelly. Around the luxurious dining table, there was a family of 5, but only 4 were actually part of the conversation. Kelly was just there, merely existing. It had always been like that. Her sister and brother had always been the stars, the pride of their parents. Compared to them, Kelly was quite ordinary, with no particular talents to speak of, just an average child, who might have seemed inferior to her parents, who already had exceptional children. At some point, Kelly began to be treated like she was just air. Initially, she felt out of place, but gradually, she came to accept her situation. The wedding preparations progressed rapidly. Every week, her mother and Sandra visited upscale boutiques, hunting for wedding and party dresses. The two shopping together looked more like best friends than mother and daughter. Her father and Chris went to a luxury tailor for tuxedos. Chris also showed interest in his father's passion for luxury cars, even planning the honeymoon drive. The living room overflowed with wedding planning materials, brochures from luxury hotels, first-class airline information, and detailed notes from meetings with the wedding planner. The family's conversation was always dominated by the wedding. "For the decorations at the venue, these white roses are nice. For catering, let's go with a French and Italian fusion." The guest list already has over 100 people. Kelly quietly observed. She was hoping someone would notice her presence, but those hopes were consistently dashed. When the topic of a flower girl came up for a moment, attention turned to her, but the conclusion came quickly. Sandra's 3-year-old daughter, Ashley, came to be their perfect choice. "Ashley will be so cute. Yes, she's the perfect age. Everyone will want to take pictures of her." When her maternal grandmother, Dorothy, suggested that Kelly read a poem at the ceremony, her parents immediately rejected the idea. "We want a simple ceremony," her mother said. "No need for any unnecessary performances," her father added. Kelly painfully understood the true meaning behind those words. She was deemed an unnecessary presence. One evening in May, her father called out to her. "Kelly, can I talk to you for a moment?" In the living room, her mother was looking at pictures of the venue on an expensive tablet. When Kelly entered, her mother turned off the screen. "There's something about the wedding I need to discuss," her mother began, choosing her words carefully while sitting on the leather sofa set. "You Her mother hesitated. "I think it's better if you don't attend." Kelly couldn't believe her ears. The air in the living room surrounded by luxury furniture seemed to freeze instantly. "What do you mean?" "Our wedding is going to be very elegant," her mother said, caressing the expensive Persian carpet with her toes. "You're not good with that sort of thing, are you?" "Not good with it." Kelly's voice trembled. The light from the luxurious chandelier suddenly felt too bright. "You don't want to invite me?" Her father cleared his throat from his custom leather armchair. "You're not suited for these kinds of events. You wouldn't handle it well like Sandra or Chris, but I'm your daughter." Kelly's voice echoed faintly in the spacious living room. "That's exactly why," her mother interjected while absent-mindedly playing with her expensive necklace. "We don't want to embarrass you." At that moment, something inside Kelly crumbled. She felt as if she could hear the last bastion of her family built over 17 years collapsing. "Embarrassing?" Kelly's voice rose. The family photos displayed in the living room suddenly looked alien. "I'm your embarrassment." "Not in that way." Her mother stumbled over her words, nervously touching her expensive bracelet. "Then what do you mean?" Anger welled up inside her. "Your own daughter isn't invited. How does that make sense, Kelly?" Her father's voice grew stern. "Don't be selfish anymore." "Selfish?" Kelly chuckled bitterly. The family photo on the marble fireplace caught her eye. A perfectly staged facade of happiness. "Wanting to attend my own parents' wedding is selfish." "You're always like this." Her mother sighed. "You never try to understand us. Do you know how important this wedding is to us?" "Understand?" Kelly's voice shook. "What about the 17 years I've spent trying to understand you? Have you ever tried to understand my feelings even once?" From that night on, Kelly stayed in her room. Within the expansive space, she felt herself becoming smaller and smaller. Luxurious furniture, designer lighting, and the latest audio equipment. Materially, she lacked nothing, but what was critically missing was love. Her meals were brought to her room by the housekeeper, Patty. Patty's gaze held sympathy, but she couldn't say anything. From her window, Kelly could see her family busy with wedding preparations. Her mother and Sandra returned home, arms laden with designer shopping bags. Her father and Chris went out in a luxury car for tuxedo fittings. Relatives and friends arrived one after another. No one knocked on Kelly's door. The morning before they left, Kelly asked her mother one more time, "Mom, am I really not allowed to attend the wedding?" Her mother looked up from the book she was reading, still seated in the reading chair by the window. "No, we didn't even get you a plane ticket." They hadn't bought her ticket. There was no seat for her on the family's first-class trip. It wasn't a mere oversight. From the start, they hadn't intended to include her in the plans. The next morning, the family left early. Kelly watched from the third-floor window as luggage was loaded into a luxury taxi. Her mother was dressed in the latest designer suit, her father wore a custom luxury tie, Sandra donned a coveted brand dress, and Chris appeared in a casual yet fine suit. It was like a scene from a perfect family photo. In the morning light of the upscale neighborhood, they shone like they were on the cover of a magazine. However, Kelly was not there. No one looked back. No one said goodbye. It was as if she had never existed from the beginning. Photos were continuously posted on social media. A private beach at a luxury resort in Hawaii, captioned with "spending the best time as a family." A pre-wedding celebration at a 5-star hotel. "With my beloved family, experiencing the best moments of my life. May these happy times last forever. Tomorrow is our special day." The comments section was filled with congratulations. "What a lovely family. The ideal family. I aspire to have a wonderful family like yours." Kelly stared at her expensive smartphone screen. There indeed was her family, in a luxurious place, dressed in expensive clothes, all with perfect smiles, yet there was nothing to indicate her presence. The meals brought by Patty remained mostly untouched. In the spacious room, only time flowed slowly. The phone call came one evening, a week after the wedding. "Kelly, did the police contact you? Your parents are really worried. Please reply soon." Julia's voice was urgent. There was a tension in her best friend's voice that was usually not there. "Police? What are you talking about?" Kelly's voice trembled. "What? You don't know? Your parents filed a missing person report. Haven't you seen Instagram? Everyone is worried." With trembling hands, she opened Instagram. As she scrolled through, an unbelievable number of posts appeared. Her mother's post, "Our youngest daughter is missing, and this special day is filled with complex emotions. We are cooperating with the police in the search. Praying for her safety. Prayers for Kelly to our beloved daughter. Come home soon." Numerous comments were posted. "I'm so sorry. Hope she is found soon. Any clues from the police?" How heartbreaking on such a day. Kelly's mind went blank. She felt like she might collapse onto the luxurious floor of her own room. Nausea surged. They knew she was here, that she was spending time in this room, that they had left her behind, yet they lied about her being missing. As the evening light filtered into the luxurious room, Kelly stood up. Her parents' lies. They were the culmination of 17 years of neglect and exclusion. She began to prepare carefully. First, the day's newspaper. She placed it in a position where the date was clearly visible. Next, a selfie in her room with the sunset through the window as the backdrop, her expression calm. Then, she started writing the post. I am not missing. I am here in my room at home in Manhattan. My parents know I am here because they refused to take me to the wedding. They said you don't fit in. They didn't even buy me a ticket. They didn't prepare a dress for me. And now, they are lying about me being missing. This is the truth. The ugly truth behind the facade of a perfect family. Before hitting the post button, she took a deep breath. A moment to end 17 years of silence. She pressed the button. The response was faster than expected. Within the first 30 minutes, comments and messages flooded in from friends and relatives. From friends, Kelly, is this true? Unbelievable. Too cruel. Do you need anything? How can I help? Messages also poured in from strangers. Kelly's post spread rapidly, accompanied by hashtags like erase daughter, fake family, moment of truth. The family's response was not delayed. 10 missed calls from her mother. The voicemails were frantic. Kelly, what are you doing? Delete this now. Think about our feelings. Messages also came from her siblings and father. After midnight, a call came. It was from her maternal grandmother Dorothy, Kelly. Her grandmother's voice was as warm as ever, yet that night, it carried a special strength. I've seen it all. The social media posts, the comments, and the missing person report. Tears streamed down Kelly's face uncontrollably. Grandma. You've done well. Her grandmother's voice was gentle. You've endured alone for 17 years. It's enough now. But I'm only 17, and my parents. Kelly's voice shook. You don't need to worry about legal matters. Her grandmother reassured her with conviction. I've spoken with your Uncle Jason. He has already arranged things with a lawyer. Really? Hope began to dawn for Kelly. That missing person report was the last straw. Her grandmother explained. This isn't just a domestic issue. It's a clear case of abuse. The court will be on your side. The next morning, her grandmother outlined a concrete plan. At 3 p.m. the day after tomorrow, Jason and I will come to pick you up. Just pack the essentials. Don't forget important documents. Your passport, insurance card, school records. You'll need everything. Kelly quietly began to prepare. Packing up 17 years of her life was challenging, but truly essential items were few. On the promised day, just as her parents' taxi, fresh from Hawaii, slid up to the front door, an unexpected scene unfolded. Her grandmother Dorothy and Uncle Jason were waiting, along with a lawyer dressed in a gray suit. They simply froze at the unexpected greeting. Mom? Beth's voice trembled. Why are you here? We've come looking for our missing granddaughter. Dorothy's voice was laced with icy sarcasm. Richard stepped forward. This is a family matter. Outsiders shouldn't. Outsiders? Dorothy interrupted, who falsely reported their daughter missing. She then pulled out a stack of documents. Here's the evidence that Kelly has been in her room, including testimony from the housekeeper, Patty. The color drained from the parents' faces. Kelly, come down, Dorothy called. Kelly began descending the stairs slowly, suitcase and a small bag in hand. Her 17 years of life were packed inside. What are you thinking? Richard confronted her, his high-end suit collar disheveled. Making such a shameful post on social media. Is my post an embarrassing one? Kelly looked directly at her father, struggling to keep her voice steady. Or is it more embarrassing that my parents lied about me being missing? We were thinking of you too, Beth started to say. Tears streaked her sun-tanned cheeks. Thinking of me? Kelly's voice rose. Excluding me out from the trip? Faking my disappearance. A heavy silence filled the grand entrance hall. The crystal chandelier cast a cold light. Why? Kelly asked quietly. Why missing? It's about appearances. Beth unexpectedly answered, nervously clutching her expensive handbag. How could we tell anyone that our daughter refused to attend the wedding? Our reputation would be. I refused. Kelly's voice quivered. You excluded me. You've always been different, Beth shouted. You never try to meet our expectations like Sandra and Chris. Always alone, always choosing a different path from us. So that makes it okay to erase me. No one answered. Shadows stretched across the marble floor as the evening deepened. Kelly, let's go. Dorothy spoke gently. As Kelly headed towards the entrance with her luggage, Beth called out to her in a panic. Wait! She rushed over, her designer high heels clicking on the floor. You're still a minor. You can't just. That's enough. Dorothy interrupted calmly. Look at this. The lawyer produced new documents. These are petition papers for the court. The lawyer's voice resonated. Evidence of abuse and neglect. False missing person reports on social media. It's all recorded. Are you trying to threaten us? Richard's voice was a low growl. It's not a threat. The lawyer continued evenly. It's a presentation of facts. We hope to proceed amicably from here. The parents were at a loss for words. A heavy silence fell in the ornately decorated entrance. Before heading to the taxi, Kelly turned back one last time. Her parents stood frozen at the entrance of the luxury house. Beth wiped her tears with a luxury brand handkerchief, while Richard looked off into the distance with a stern face. 17 years. Kelly's voice echoed quietly. In the 17 years of my life, have you ever truly seen me as part of the family? There was no response. Instead, the evening breeze was the only answer. The taxi started to move. Dorothy quietly held Kelly's hand. It's the beginning of a new chapter, Kelly. From the backseat window, the luxury house gradually became smaller. A place filled with 17 years of memories. A stage for a family that was perfect only in pretense. The place where she was erased, tears streamed down her cheeks. But they were not tears of sadness, they were tears of liberation, the first step towards a new life. That night, Kelly's post became national news. Wealthy family alienates teen daughter. Modern family's darkness revealed through social media. The true voice of a missing girl. The hidden side of a perfect family image. There were requests for interviews from TV stations, newspapers wanted interviews, publishing houses offered book deals. However, Kelly turned them all down. She wasn't ready yet. She wanted to focus on reclaiming herself. Instead, she began to write. On her blog, she shared her honest feelings. I am no longer the erased one. This is the start of my new story. For those tired of playing the perfect family, you are not alone. St. Mary's High School was worlds apart from the private high school in Manhattan that Kelly had attended. There was no competition for brand-name goods. Instead, there were warm smiles and genuine words. On the first day, a classmate named Jessica approached her naturally. You're new, right? Want to have lunch together? Kelly hesitated for a moment. This was an act of kindness without any expectation of return, something she had never experienced before. Students who had seen her posts on social media did not pry unnecessarily. Kelly, look at this. One day during lunch, Jessica handed her the school newspaper. The literary club is looking for writers. Kelly was intrigued. She had always been good at writing, but her parents had dismissed it as a waste of time. Study business or law, they would say. Why don't you try? Jessica encouraged her. I think you have talent. From that day, Kelly began to write. It started with journal-like short pieces. Gradually, she moved on to stories and poems. By expressing her emotions through words, she felt the burdens inside her lighten. Her first short story in the school newspaper, The Voice of the Erased Girl, received more feedback than expected. A story of a girl ignored by her family and falsely declared missing. The true story presented as fiction drew remarkable attention. A girl raised to be invisible, breathing quietly under the mask of a perfect family, and the day she decided to raise her voice, she washed away the false label of missing with the truth. Kelly, this is an amazing piece, said Mizu Baker, her literature teacher, in a quiet voice. Your words have a soul. Kelly's story spread beyond the school. It was featured in local newspapers, recommended for literary awards, and shared widely online. Unexpected responses arrived. An email from her mother, Beth. I read it. For the first time, I might understand the weight of what we've done. Your words have opened my eyes. A message from her sister, Sandra. I never truly considered how you felt. We were so focused on playing perfect that we lost sight of what was important. I'm sorry. A letter from her brother Chris. We pretended not to notice. That was our greatest sin. Your courage exposed the falsehoods in our family. Kelly's story resonated with people she never expected. One day, a call came from an unknown number. Hello, is this Kelly? A calm woman's voice. I'm your father's sister. Your Aunt Megan. Kelly gasped. The aunt who appeared in only one family photo at her home. The one rumored to have been ostracized by the family. 20 years ago, I was also erased from the family. Megan's voice continued as someone who didn't fit the perfect family image. Back then, no one had the courage to speak up. The conversation with Megan gave Kelly a new perspective. The Holmes family has a tradition of erasing passed down through generations. Megan's voice held old pain. I wanted to be a painter, but it was deemed unsuitable for the family stature. I was opposed by our parents and denied by your father, and eventually, it was made to seem as though I had run away. Kelly took notes with trembling hands, the family's twisted tradition, invisible chains, and the stories of those who tried to break them. One day, the results from the state's Young Writers Contest arrived. Mizu Kelly Holmes, your work, The Erased Ones, The Truth Behind the False Missing Person Report, has been selected as the first prize winner in the high school category. She celebrated by hugging her grandmother. The story was also prominently featured in the local newspaper. And then, another unexpected response came. An email from her father, Richard. Congratulations, we failed to understand your talent. No. We chose not to understand. Trapped by the so-called tradition of the Holmes family, about Megan and about you. The email from her father continued. We were captivated by the illusion of a perfect family, only now do I realize how great the cost has been. Losing Megan and then you. Perhaps it was a curse-like chain within the Holmes family. A lengthy email also arrived from her mother. Every day, I reread your article. We tried to erase your very existence with the lie of missing. That was the lowest act as a mother. I don't expect to be forgiven, but your voice has certainly reached us. Kelly did not reply. She felt it wasn't time yet. Instead, she began writing a new novel.